Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Looking forward to it. The Bruce Jones. Hey man, let me know where everyone is and how things are going over there. Brandon, Walmart looks like Black Friday in Illinois. People are going there and hanging out because they are bored. Yeah, that's happening a lot. They're using the shopping excuse as to go somewhere out and about a little bit. Huck may be famous. Hey Fernando, can you describe the current public mood in Spain in detail? Please, maybe in a separate video if it doesn't suit the live question and answer format. No, that's good. Yeah, I could do a separate video. Probably will. The thing is, it's being pretty much obeyed in terms of compliance. It's pretty good. There's really not a lot of people causing trouble. There is every night in the news you see maybe someone going about their business or just not following through with the lockdown. But it's very sporadic. Most of the time, mostly across the country, people are very pretty responsible. I would say that would be the word. So yeah, it's a crappy situation, but that's the choice that was made. If anything, it was decided that it was not made soon enough, which is the case. They should have done this before. They didn't because they wanted to take advantage of the Women's March, which was a big political, flag waving crap event. And right at that moment is when a lot of the people that are dying right now got infected. If they haven't done that, a lot of people would have been spared. But the choices made by politicians, as we all know. Hello, matey from UK, Jason Williamson. How are things over there? Well, UK was another case in which they kind of tried to postpone things a bit, and as always, this bug is pretty. It's not messing around. It infects, spreads very easily. And let me know, Jason, how are things over there? But according to what I'm hearing, it's not being. The Stasi Brigade are starting to show their faces. But are people complying with the lockdown or not so much? Russell Lutkin, USA and Wisconsin lockdown, no money, virus, chaos, and extreme worry here. Hey, Russell, sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, that's the story around because a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck and don't have much in terms of savings. And if you're not working, you're not making any money, even if you can go out for shopping. That's what happened in Italy. In the south of Italy, there were people that just after a few weeks of lockdown, you cannot work, you cannot earn money, and how is it that you're going to be buying groceries and food and the stuff you need, even if you're not world fake virus? Yeah, still, well, ice water. Yeah, I think there's people that still think it's fake news, that the virus, that they don't believe it. I don't know what at this stage how you could possibly believe that, but at the same time, there's people that still think the Earth is flat. So there's all sorts of people out there. People still walking around, kids together walking around. Yeah, that's not a good idea, having kids out there. A private hedge and rickety fence guarding channel. Hey, there was people on the beach right before the lockdown, and now mothers are still taking their kids to the park from UK. There aren't really, and supermarkets are very bad at the moment. No stock. You're a private hedge and rickety fence. You're in UK, right? That's where you see that there's supermarkets are very bad. Good afternoon, Fernando. KM1138. Hey man, Mini Rodriguez virus is real but might not be so lethal as they claim. That is, that is one of the things we'll only get to see once this is over. The mortality rate of this thing. Keep in mind that if you're seeing the numbers go up in the United States by what is it? What's the number right now? something, 100,000, 100 and something thousand. Keep in mind, those are the people that are coming back positive. Those are not the people that have started to die. That will take maybe a week. The numbers of deaths you'll see per day will skyrocket in the coming weeks and days. That is how it went down in Italy. That's how it went down in Spain, and even in Germany, where they started with great numbers. They had a lot of people infected, but they had like just one death or something like that. But those guys you have to look at another number. It's very important. The amount of people recovered versus the amount of people that are that didn't make it. That is almost like twofold in terms of recovery per death. So it's not very encouraging, the amount of people that recover from this thing. It would be nice to see it a bit of a bigger number. In the south of UK. Okay, so things over there, what, Wales or south of England, things there in stores are bad. You don't see lots of products being replaced, empty aisles. People in the UK starting to wake up to the fake news on mainstream media and now asking questions. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are 177,000 infected in US. Man, that is a big number. Yeah, and it went up very fast. That's something I published in Facebook. Guys, by the way, my Facebook is The Modern Survivalist and Fairfeld308 for my Instagram. But in my Facebook, I just did a little projection as of how things were going to be looking in a couple of weeks based on the existing numbers. And yeah, it soon will be, a 500,000 people infected in just a few more days. Hello all, John Hawkin, Icewater. Too many inconsistencies, evil, elites planned it, New World Order, shutting down freedom, made up numbers, October 18th, while military would World Games, an event to, well, yeah, you're killing me with that. I don't know what that means. Jason, what is the fake news, M3? Yeah, I don't know if the only thing I would say that was that is still now being said and would be definitely fake news would be what they're saying from the World Health Organization, that you don't need respirators, face masks. If you're healthy, you don't need any of that. That is most definitely in the category of fake news, because you definitely do. If you're healthy, you don't need to protect yourself. I don't know what that's about. The problem with us and U.S. The problem with U.S. and U.K. is the amount the government has left to interpretation, leading to a lot of misinformation. They have stated to restrict soap, but discounting, giving a sense of urgency, money. What's, at least the way I see it, what was very obvious was they try to go for okay, we'll keep business as usual. We'll just reinforce the idea of hand washing and social distancing and see how that works out for us. That just is not enough. That is painfully obvious by now, that just washing your hands and telling people to not hug a lot, that just doesn't make it. And I think that in UK they had that approach. I even heard Boris Johnson say, "Oh, we're so much more civilized than the Spanish and the Italians. We don't need to have the government reinforce anything or force people to do anything. We'll just suggest people to apply and put into practice social distances. It's going to be enough." A few days later, he was infected himself. I think that Prince Charles is infecting himself as well, and there's a bunch of other people. It is just not enough, man. It is just not enough. Fernando is 357.6, still your round of choice for concealed carry. Man, it is a fantastic round. I think it's the best handgun, the best pistol round you can have. 357.6 is a fantastic caliber. And you can have your 40 Smith & Wesson barrel as well, just swapping barrels. And yeah, it's my favorite round. It is. It is a great little cartridge. It's not 9 millimeter plus P. It's closer to 357 Magnum at 140 feet per second with a 125 grain bullet. So yeah, it's great, and it was used to take down a terrorist, an active shooter, something like that in that church shooting in Texas. The guy used 357 SIG, and you could see the effect it had on that guy when he got hit. More people will die by shutdown of economy than the dumb virus. And well, yeah, eventually I guess it could be, but the virus is gonna be killing a lot of people, and I don't know. It's just a different approach. I think that in Switzerland not Switzerland, in Sweden they're going for the approach of herd immunity and just letting people get sick and die. The problem with that is more of a political nature, because those images will destroy you when people realize that people are dropping dead in front of hospitals, when you have to put corpses in meat trucks, when all of that happens, you clearly fail in terms of running things during a crisis. That usually has a very strong consequence, politically speaking. In Spain, they end up putting corpses in ice skating joints. So yeah, it's quite bad in that regard. Question, Fernando: when Argentina had their economic fail, did the government stop government pensions or did they reduce? If so, by how much? Etc. Do you believe USA will default on all pensions? I have no way of knowing what US would end up doing in a serious economic crisis. What happened is that in Argentina, as the currency devaluates, and it just lost like 70% of its value in just a matter of days, going from 1 peso to $1 to 2, 3, even 4 pesos per dollar. So if you had $1,000, you just lost 70% of its value when it was converted to pesos worth 4 times less. So what happens is that they just don't keep up the pensions with how fast the currency is devaluating. So yeah, people got hit very bad in that regard. So government pensions being reduced, yeah, because they're not keeping up with inflation. When inflation is 100, 300% in just a few days, that's a way in which they're indirectly reducing your pensions. What is your weapon of choice for a female? Minnie Rodriguez. Well, whenever you can have a firearm, that would still be my weapon of choice, depending on the level of training that you have. Semi-automatic pistol or a revolver. If the revolver thing is a little bit controversial, and I stick to my guns literally from the first time I started talking about these topics. Even with my first book, I mentioned how useful a revolver is in terms of simplicity. And not everyone is capable of running a semi-automatic pistol. Sure, everyone can shoot a semi-automatic pistol in the range with just a few minutes of instruction. Handling it proficiently in a life or death situation where a number of things could go wrong, that involves a level of training that a lot of people simply do not have. So if you are thinking more, because people come in all sorts of ways and in all walks of life. Some people just don't like guns. They just want to have something to protect themselves. For those people, you're not interested in doing much training beyond basic minimum safety handling of a firearm. Get yourself a revolver. In a 357 Magnum, you can shoot 38. That will be one of the kind of advice that I generally give. If you're more interested in firearms and planning on shooting more frequently, getting additional training and such, get a semi-automatic pistol, specifically a Glock 9mm. We're clearly moving into digital currency. Yes, that is something that I'm a little bit worried about myself as well. Using this of kind of like a way of segueing into, oh, look how dirty and bad cash is. Let's just use digital currency instead. That is something that the real a globalist, the real world elite has always wanted for many years now, to have complete control over currency. I mean, we already have no control over it, basically because we don't print that money. The elite does. When people talk about who's the real, well, the folks that get to decide, okay, I'm printing myself a couple $1 billion, and I'm going to be dividing it into my banker buddies. And that's the real elite. Those are the guys that make money for themselves. You, on the other hand, you have to actually work your ass off. You have to sell something. You have to make something so as to earn money. These guys just basically print it, or just click a few zeros, and that's it. But losing even cash would be losing all control over your economy. The UK was going for the same way as Sweden not so long ago. I'm glad we saw sense. It's interesting to note that our top medical advisor and the prime minister have gone down with the virus. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's it sounds almost like karma, because the same guy, Boris Johnson, was just kind of laughing at other countries that had a huge problem with this. No, we're much better at following the advice from our leaders, social distancing, this and that, and eventually he got hit. He got sick himself, and it was pretty much proven that unless you go very strongly with people, we all have to stay home. There are no exceptions to this, except of course some basic essential jobs and that sort of thing. If you don't do that, people just don't. I mean, for every guy that follows the rules, there's 10 jerks that just do whatever it is that they want. And you don't even need that. For every one guy out of 100 following the rules, you still have thousands and thousands of people are still spreading the disease. So unless you go very hardcore on this, you do not get the results. And the results you're looking at are people being isolated so that the virus stops spreading. If you don't isolate people, you will just have the virus continue to spread. San Francisco would be fun to look at in a few weeks. Yeah, well, most main metropolis would be places where the virus is definitely spreading very fast. It also depends on the kind of luck you had. There's also been some very small communities that have a pile of people infected, where everyone in the town got infected. So it's just kind of like a virus lottery in a way. Serious economic fall out here in the Midwest. Small town USA is shutting down. Man, yeah, Wesley J. Yes, absolutely. And it's not just, if you're going for lockdown, if you're under quarantine, but besides that, there's just a lot of people that are scared and worried, or just taking precautions, and they're just not going out as much. Retail in supermarkets, that's gone through the roof. Amazon, I bet they're killing it in the sales. That is pretty obvious. But then all the restaurants, all the bars, or anything that needs people on the streets, that is all dead. That is just going out of business. And the economic impact will be huge. Now, I cannot say either way if the economic cost is worse than the virus, or the virus worse than the economic cost. The thing is that the economy should serve the people that are alive. If you're dead, the economy, we can have the best economy in the planet. If you're dead, or if a lot of your population is dead, even the best economy means nothing, because the economy is supposed to be something that works for people. Life is, we shouldn't even having to state this, but if you're not alive, then very little else matters. And yes, of course, people die every day. We all understand that. The thing is, a lot of folks underestimated how many people die because of this thing. There's still people that think it's just like a flu. No, it's not. You're just not getting it if you think this is a flu. I bet you in Basel already have planned for electric currency. I bet you one currency of citizens and salaries, and one for companies for international trade. Man, could be anything. I don't know. Um, could be anything. Bill Gates planned 165 million dead in 18 planned. What are you talking about? Killing off old people, sick people, disabled people. Dean Koontz book The Eye of Darkness. Celebrities all get mild cases. I don't know. There's been some celebrities that have died. Depends on who you're talking about. Some of the older ones have died. Yeah. Tac one. By the way, hello from Stockholm. Hey man, how are you doing there? Man, I wish we could have gone forward with the seminar over there in Sweden. That unfortunately, as soon as we saw this getting that bad, we just decided to cancel it in time, give enough time for folks to not do any further planning. But I was really looking forward to it in Uppsala, Sweden. We're going to be having the prepper survival seminar with Toby and Salko. People are so unbelievably antsy right now that when they get first sign this thing is slowing down, they will be so happy to celebrate, and the round two starts because of that. Well, you do have a couple of it peaks for at least 2 or 3 times, so it's very likely that you'll see a peak after this. I've lost a large sum on my income due to all of this. Do you have any tips to prioritize during this, Fernando? Man, it's very hard, especially because of the situation where there's really not a lot that you can do going out. You can start looking into working online. I know that's being said time and again, but there's a lot of things that you can actually do online. It sucks because right now, if you're in a lockdown, you're very much limited in terms of finding additional income, finding another job, or making some money going out and about. But you don't have much choice other than limit your expenses as much as possible. Try saving and pinching bucks left and right, not spending any money you can avoid spending. A super tight budget, but being in a lockdown makes everything so much harder. They'll probably have to come up with some solution for. I'm sure you're not the only one in this situation. This is why basically the looting took place in southern Italy, because people just had run out of money. And the south of Italy is, for folks that don't know this, the south of Italy is economically a little bit more shady, a little bit poorer than the rest. The north of Italy, where this first started, is the richest part of the country, is where people make the most money. It's the part of the country that's better off in general, much better income. South of Italy, not so much. It's on the other end of the spectrum. So those are the guys that first started seeing problems in terms of, folks are running out of money. There's no money anymore. That was basically what happened. Here in the U.S., 2 more weeks, folks are going to start losing it. You can already see it starting. John Hodgkin. Yeah, it's understandable, and economically as well. Bank of International Settlement in Basel, Switzerland. You have additional advice for an employed. Already read on the Modern Survival Manual and Street Survival Skills. Wesley J. Hey, thanks. Yeah, well, those books are pretty useful in this kind of situation. What do you think about it, Wesley J? You let me know if you like the books. If you think it sucks, be honest, man. Come on. I basically provide most of the advice I could give you on those 2 books, especially in regards to the economy on my first one. Now, there's a few things that have changed since then. The basic idea is still the same. Find ways of making additional income. Save as much money as you can. Cut any spendings that you have that you don't actually need. I'll give you just an example. Right now. I was paying a certain amount of money for my internet. right? And this was before the lockdown, before any of this. But I just did this little experiment. Called my internet service provider. I told them, you know what, you guys have been great, but I'm not going to be using your services anymore. I appreciate our relationship so far, but I just cannot afford it anymore. You guys are just too expensive. That's what I told them. Phone call. Okay, could you pay half as much? And I said, yeah, of course. Yeah, half as much is fine. So because of a phone call, they cut my internet bill to half. Same service, same phone, same everything. Just letting them know that they were just too expensive for me, and I was letting go of their service. That if I had done that maybe a year ago, you save a lot of money doing those sort of things. So try cutting expenses as much as you can. This has worked for me in different countries that I've lived. No matter where you live, give your cable, internet guys, cell phone company, whatever it is that you have a fixed bill. Even with your power company, they have like different plans and bullshit like that. Basically, what they're doing is adjusting how much money they can get out of you, depending on what you're willing to pay. If you're okay paying $50, they'll charge you $50. If all you can pay is $20 or $30, there's a good chance they'll try to reach some kind of agreement with you or some cheaper service option. That is usually what happens. So get busy, make those phone calls, and try to reducing your expenses as much as you can. My income now is zero. John Lewis. Well, yeah, that sucks. That's the kind of thing that puts you in a very tough spot. And especially now, depending on where you are, no one is looking to hire anyone. No one is looking to, start getting people in their payroll. It's rather the opposite. They're letting go of everyone. Maybe something like writing a good book or something brings in a little income. Yeah, absolutely. If you write a good book, it may well be the case that brings you a bit of income. The thing about writing books is, and I've written 3 books. Those are the books that I have, and my last one, which is this one. I made the Spanish version, which fortunately did very well. Still doing great. The thing with books is that, yeah, sure, we all like having a good book. It is not as easy as it seems, and I mean this as a crappy writer. Those of you that have read my books know that I'm not much of a good writer. I have good knowledge to share with you guys, and I use books to achieve that, and that's why they're pretty successful, fortunately. But I'm not much of a good writer. Even if you are a great writer, that doesn't guarantee you that you're going to be making a good amount of money out of that. Keep in mind that the woman that wrote Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, she got rejected like 12 times. 12 times they rejected freaking Harry Potter. Imagine the amount of people that are good writers that just cannot make a sale. It is not as easy as it sometimes seems. That doesn't mean that if you like writing, you should absolutely do your best. Especially with Amazon, it's super easy to write a book, put it up there. The problem is not having the book published. Amazon will do that for you right away. You can use their service, but getting the sales is you need to have somewhat of a reputation. People somehow have to know about you and be interested in what you're writing. That is, it's pretty tough. That takes quite a bit of time. The thing is, I've been doing, I've had an online presence, as to put it somehow, for many, many years now. So that has helped me a lot in terms of books. But if you like writing, absolutely. And if you're smart about that and you like writing, you can maybe do it like in shorter chapters and make it a series, shorter books. Kindle is a good way of doing that. Lots of writers, lots of fiction writers, if that's what you're having in mind, they use that as a good resource, because if you're it's kind of like publishing chapter by chapter and you have People don't like reading a whole lot these days, especially the younger generations. So there's some younger writers are very successful with their teen, vampire romantic novel, publishing little chapters at a time for $1 or $2 on Kindle. That usually is a good way. No expert in any of this, just letting you know what I've seen work pretty well. Love both books. I think the risk assessment from Modern Survival Manual was very important. I reorientate my focus on more realistic preparedness. Wesley J. Thanks, man. I'm glad you liked it. I'm super proud about the last book, Street Survival Skills, especially all my drawings. I put a lot of love into those. I get some comments every once in a while, those crappy drawings of yours, but I like doing them, and I think they are not works of art, but they kind of get the message across, which was kind of the idea with that. Start trading services or items with neighbors and family friends. Well, one of the things that you could definitely do for making a quick buck right now is just selling some of the stuff you may have around in your house on eBay or some other service that is you have for you a private hedge and rickety fence gardening channel. If you're looking to make a bit of money right now, you can sell it on Gumtree. That's, well, now with people not with limited movement, but if you manage to send it through mail, you can make that's Gumtree is a good way of making a quick buck if you have some things to get rid of. And I don't care who you are, where you live, what you've done with your life. Everyone has a couple $1,000 in their house floating around and stuff that they don't use. That is a fact. If you need a quick buck, look around your house, see what you haven't used in the last year, and sell it. You'll be amazed about how much money you can make just doing that. John Lewis, I have all 3 of your books. Didn't see anything wrong with your writing. Thanks, man. Thanks. No, I'm no J.K. Rowling by any stretch of the imagination. I just try to write something that makes sense, that's simple to understand. Don't try to be much of a poet. Just get the message or the information I want to get across. And thanks for buying my books, and I'm really glad you liked them. That really makes my day whenever I get a message, and I've been getting a lot of those, especially with Instagram, which I'll write here as well because I'm doing great with that. Instagram, I'm getting lots of messages, especially through Instagram, such of people that, hey, Fernando, I bought your book. It came very useful. Thanks to it, I'm much better prepared for all of this. And that just makes my day. I just love that because it is, it's the reason why I started doing this. Of course, eventually I ended up doing it more of a, with my books and getting more serious with YouTube and that sort of thing. But it's what I love doing. Fortunately, I'm very, blessed, truly in that regard. And 3, please, Kindle version. Well, what I was explaining about Kindle is it works great for short little chapter novel, teen romantic novels. If you write a 250-page book, unless you are a big publisher that cuts a specific deal, Kindle, if it's not priced very low, Kindle kind of sucks because it ends up being less. It makes no sense for a 250-page book to make less money than on a paper book, given that Kindle is all just digital. And that is the way Amazon feels about it. I won't be criticizing their marketing strategy or whatever, but it's simply a fact that Kindle does not work for all books. Michael Scott, what can we here in North America learn from hyperinflation in Argentina and the general economic turmoil there in the past? Basically, how you prepare for hyperinflation. Man, lots of the things we're talking about here. Try to make more money, try to spend less money, try to be very careful with your expenses. There's always something that lives on way less than you do. That's also a fact. You have to adjust so as to make it with what you have and even less. Um, Even one of the things that I think it's a very good idea is starting your own business or having an additional form of income of your own. If you're working in for someone else, if you're contracted or in a if you work for someone else and that sort of thing, having even something small but owning that, having your own side business, additional income, that is huge, because if anything goes wrong with one of your income sources, you have something else to focus on. Um, Being very careful with your expenses. That's also something that lots of people just don't think a lot of. Maybe you eat out more than you think. Maybe you think it's not that much of an expense. You buy something, some fast food burger or a coffee. It's always cheaper if you make it yourself. Cooking, the amount of money that people spend in eating out or takeaway or fast food is just mind blowing. You can save a ton of money by learning how to cook and not even being that great of a cook. Just knowing how to prepare your own meals, that is definitely a way of saving quite a bit of money. Internet, you don't always need the fastest fiber optic connection that is available out there. You don't need the more expensive phone plan. There's always things that are much cheaper. I pay like $10 for my phone a month, and I try to stick to that. It has, yeah, a certain amount of minutes, a certain amount of internet time, all that stuff. The thing is, I really don't need more than that. So why would I be spending 30, $40 on my cell phone a month? Doesn't make any sense. Tried ordering Street Survival Skills, but the postage to New Zealand was twice the cost of the book. Would you please consider selling a digital version? That happens quite a bit. I have a piece of advice though for you. The ends New Zealand South. Check with someone. Maybe you know someone that buys more often on Amazon, or they have a Prime account. Those guys get it shipped for free. So if you have someone that you know that buys more frequently, ask them for a favor. You know what? I want to get this book. Could you please buy it for me? You give them the money, and there's a good chance that they ship it for free, because I know of people that got it for free in Argentina. Free shipping, I mean. But the digital version, the problem from my side as someone publishing it is that it really sucks if you're selling a book digital on Kindle and it is not a $2-3 book. It's been 3 weeks since lockdown, and now nobody has bugged out to the woods with all their friends yet. LOL. No, they don't do that. You see, you kind of stay home. It would kind of suck to be out. In fact, people that have done that have found out that there's police around looking for folks camping and having a good time and not abiding by the lockdown, and they get sent home. Bracken 10011 P3 mask any good against viruses? Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, here's the answer. Yes, P3 and P100 is good for virus. Yeah, because a P3 is basically like an N99 or an N100. So yes, FFP3 is what's recommended. FFP3 or FFP2 would be similar to an N95. So even with the FFP2, that would be good. Of course, FFP3 would be even better because it has an even higher rating. It's filtering 99.97% of the particles. Bracken 1001, thanks. Favorite survival forums? Well, there's the survivalist boards is where I usually hang out. That's one of the bigger survival forums, I think. So yeah, survivalist boards has, and internet boards are like, sometimes they're a dumpster fire. Sometimes there's lots of crazy people that you wouldn't even consider talking to face, but they have a keyboard, they have access to internet, and they end up interacting with you, even though they may be crazier than a bag full of cats. But yeah, there's good people as well. So you have to keep that into consideration as well. Just don't waste time with trolls and that sort of thing. Just ignore them and go on with your life. Is this going to lead to a major war in your opinion, Brandon? Hey, Brandon, man, it could well be. I have no idea, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think that we are in one of those moments in history where it definitely could lead to some serious conflicts. Uh, it could end up being a major. I mean, it's already going to be a major economic crisis worldwide. That is simply a fact. That is unavoidable. How much of a trade war this ends up being, or an actual war eventually? There's lots of countries that are pissed with China, and rightfully so. There's a lot of people pissed with China, me being one of them. Have you seen some of those videos around the world from Chinese people spitting and spreading the virus in supermarkets or public transportation? I don't know what the hell is wrong with people, but there seems to be Chinese in every country spitting on food and trying to spread the disease. I don't know if that's entirely accidental or they have an unusual amount of crazy people traveling all over the world. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's not it's something that I like. If anything, I'd say that I don't know if it was intentional or not. I think that at a certain point they said, screw it, we're spreading this all over the world so everyone goes down along with us. Myra, how are you? Hi, Fernando. Any word how long Spain is going to be locked down in the States? Anticipation is April 30. Yeah, probably the same at the very least. I mean, think about it this way. It doesn't make any sense at all to have people locked down right now and end the lockdown when there's going to be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people dying a day, which is likely to be, the moment in which April 30th is not going to be fast enough to go past those kind of numbers. I mean, hopefully, but it wouldn't make any sense to end a lockdown when you have even more people getting sick and dying per day than you had when you enacted it. Sakuraba, USA is one of the greatest countries in the world, but do you think they will respond better than average to the COVID pandemic? Well, you have to keep in mind that the United States is the United States. It's 50 states, and each state is like a little country on its own. And not everyone across the United States reacts in the same way. They have different cultures, different ways of viewing things. If you go for a full lockdown in New York City, chances are people will abide by it. People will mostly stay in place. You do that in Texas, statewide, and there's going to be a lot of pissed Texans telling you that you don't have the right to infringe on my freedom and not going to be abiding by it. A lot of people will go, okay, sure. Quarantine, you said, deadly virus, okay, I'll stay home. There's going to be a lot of people that will not like that and will not go through with it. And unless you can enact something nationwide, you will not achieve the results that you will eventually see in countries that had that power of, okay, everyone stays home, we're getting through this thing, everyone stay put, we'll see how this goes. And pretty much everyone goes through with that. If you don't have that nationwide in all 50 states, then it's not going to be working. So I don't think it's going to be working better than in other places. The only protection you have for this virus is just avoiding contact with other people. That's why, as we were talking about before, even UK that didn't like the idea, they still went with a lockdown once those numbers started looking awfully bad. But that's the only thing that actually works. 5G. I heard that about 5G. It's not a virus, it's 5G. 5G, one, Italy, Spain have 5G. Many this, Russia does not have 5G. Or many this. If Chinese people sneeze, breathe, same as Russians, then why such huge difference in virus? First of all, China is lying, Russia is lying as well. Don't doubt that for a second. Then it could depend. I mean, you still have to sacred apple seed smith. You have to go through the entire pandemic to see who was right, who was wrong, who dealt with this better. You have to give it a year and a half until you can actually say, okay, these guys, they knew what they were doing, they handled this much better. But, being an asshole and laughing about Italy going down as bad as they did, is just not understanding what's happening, because you may be in a country that has very, very few deaths and very few people infected. That will go down a lot worse than Italy, simply because you don't have the same infrastructure, the same healthcare system that Italy has. There's a lot of developing nations, and there's a lot of countries in South America, actually, Argentina being one of them, that are way behind the curve, and they will not deal with this better than Italy. I can put that down on writing, sign it 10 times, because I know that for a fact. Argentina will not deal with this better than Italy. That's a fact. Yet they are behind that curve, so they still have a little bit more time. Nothing that they can do about it, but the kind of deaths you see in Italy will reach Argentina maybe in a couple of months, a month from now at least, maybe more. That is the kind of thing that it will end up happening. But going back to your question about 5G, no, I don't think that 5G has anything to do with the virus, but Russia lies, China lies, and we have to see how this ends up developing. One thing to keep in mind, guys, Italy, Spain, these are countries. Italy and Spain are some of the are some of the countries that receive more tourists anywhere in the world. Some of the countries with the biggest amount of tourism in the planet. That is one of the main reasons why people traveling so much, spreading so much the virus was such a big problem. Russia, not much tourism in Russia. All evidence points to deliberate spread by China. Yes, I'm pretty certain about that. I don't know how it was created, or if it was accidental or lab created, but that the spread was deliberate, I have no doubt whatsoever. Yeah. Tac 1. Hey, Fernando, how's the situation with your neighbors? They still have a job, and are they or letting go? Do you have good relations with them? I have an okay relationship with my neighbors. I always try to do that, at least on hi, how are you doing? A small talk a little bit. They're, I don't honestly ask if they're doing well economically. It's kind of like a private thing. Yeah, I don't think it's my, if they're doing great, I'm happy for them. If they're out of job, I think that some of them still work in some of those essential type of jobs where they're still showing up because they work in something that they need to go out and work. But I honestly don't go asking much about, hey, how are you job-wise? And of course, we are in a lockdown, so we're not supposed to be talking much with one another, William Conroy, China definitely spread it, but it is very likely people just get the fuck out of China. China wouldn't need to deliberately tell people to leave. It's China. They wouldn't just want to leave on their own. They would just want to leave on their own. Yeah. People have been trying to get out of China for a while, way before this outbreak. Yeah, that's also true. I'm so surprised by the amount of people that from that same freaking city, everyone infected all of a sudden went on holidays at the same time. That is the only thing that seems odd and kind of suspicious. Everyone for one, it ended up going out on vacations the same time. They had a huge outbreak of a deadly virus. At the very least, China could have gone, okay, yeah, we're quarantining the city. No, you cannot leave on holidays right now. You have this deadly virus. It's not right to spread it all over the planet. That would have been the sensible thing to do. Did you hear Russia is helping with Italy, helping China and Russia an agenda? Yeah, I don't know that Russia is all about helping people in general. They're probably making it more of an exercise of some kind. They probably have an angle to it. Putin is, he looks like, such a funny character and such, but don't remember he's a ex-KGB agent. The guy is always looking for an angle, always looking to take advantage of any given situation. Thank you, and your many blessings for us all. Thanks, man. William Conroy, CCP is definitely shady and not trustworthy. Understatement of the year. Yeah, not a surprise there. Renovation. Hey, man, how are you doing? Russians never help anyone. They help themselves by making it look like they're helping you. I don't know. Maybe I'm mean-spirited and just pity. I don't think they're trying to help anyone. I think that whatever it is that they're doing to help anyone in any way, they are making an exercise out of it, gaining information, planting agents, or doing an exercise out of it. And uh, yeah, I'm more skeptical about all this stuff. That's what I thought, and really wasn't a big deal. They could come back into the UK without testing. I hope the West smarten up and begin to bring industry out of China. Yeah, that would be a good idea. That would be the sensible thing to do out of this mess. And many critical things. Someone was commenting, how come the United States has respirators, masks, gloves, everything made in China? You didn't even have a stockpile of this stuff. You have to go buy it from the guy that probably spread this on you on purpose. That is just not good planning. I think that any developed nation should realize that you should have at least some of this vital industry in your country. It has to be maybe even subsidized on a state level if it's so critical for you. It's not understandable that you have a country that is not capable of producing vital medical supplies. That pandemics were always a possibility, guys. Anyone that knows the first thing about disaster preparedness, emergency management, it is basic that a pandemic is always the most likely global worst case scenario. Sure, you could get hit by a meteor and we will all be vaporized in a second if that happens. Sure. Chances of that happening are very small. Chances of a pandemic, that happens every 10, 20, 30, 50 years. It happens all the time, pandemics. And eventually one of those just has to get you right, and you see what you're seeing right now. Flexing his muscles. Do we think? Yeah, probably. The Chinese are the last communist stronghold. Certain people are allowed to leave with caveat of remaining loyal to the party. Do you think this is how our freedom privacy ends? Man, I don't know. I don't know if it's. I think that it's a little bit overblown in terms of this was all on purpose as to take away our liberty. I don't think that any country, maybe China, but I don't think anyone uh, was looking forward to have a virus destroy their economy, kill thousands of their people, wreck their economy. Who would bring this on themselves on purpose? Are some of the more shady characters around the globe in many countries using this as an opportunity to kind of test drive how people react? It could well be, but I don't think that anyone brought this on themselves on purpose. Thomas, sorry, greetings from Germany. Guys, I'm thinking about doing these live streams once a week. What would be a better day, Saturday or Sunday for it? Once a week, Saturday or Sunday. Let me know there in the comments which one you think is best, and I'll just do a quick, random pool of, making up which one of those works best. Maybe. Another great leap forward. Yeah. Greetings from Germany. The thing that's really pissing me off is that the UK are saying that private citizens are hoarding masks and other PPE. It's a government job to look ahead and prepare for the worst of us. Hey, Sakuraba, $2. Thanks, man, for the super chat, guys. Super chat is a little button there. It's a kind of like a donation button. If you have any questions you'd like me to address more, that's a way of motivating, so as to go for it. Answering the question before that is, yeah, every country is doing the same thing, blaming people that are buying masks. It's their fault for not stocking up on these before. So, Sakuraba, your favorite recipe to cook during the pandemic? I'm so glad you asked, because one of the menu recipes we're basically doing two things a lot of right now. We're doing quite a bit of bread, which has come out surprisingly well. I have to do a video and upload it to the channel, but bread is something we're doing a lot of, and it's turning out great. I want to share that recipe with you guys in a video because it's definitely worth sharing. The other thing I'm doing is the recipe that I wrote in Street Survival Skills, the banana pancakes. If you've never done a banana pancake, it is super easy. It's just using banana instead of sugar, flour. You mix that up, and it just turns out great. I have to do a video on the banana pancake as well. Those two would be the things we're doing the most of. Banana pancakes, especially if you have kids or even for adults, just any banana that's starting to look a little bit shady, going bad, you can use it for a banana pancake mix that turns out surprisingly great. We're also doing chocolate chip cookies. Are not the healthiest thing, but yes, that is one. But those two would be the ones that we're using the most. Sakuraba. Also, lentils, rice, stews with anything that's left from a previous meal, any meat we did in the oven. That's also something we do a lot of. I think Corona is a test from No, I don't know. Who is it? That sounds great, Fernando. Sunday for me is that Spanish time, same as UK. Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, we could do Sunday. That's a good. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Sundays then. Everyone okay with that? Sunday. True freedom only comes in death. That is so positive, so lovely. Liberties can only be taken and held until vigilance dies. I read all your books. Keep up the great work. Thanks, man. The Dream 1965. Thanks. Really appreciate that. If you want to laugh, look at last week's propaganda from RT claiming Russia was never hit by Corona. They are so much better than the West. Fast forward a week, half their politics. Yeah, renovation. Yeah, well, that is RT. Man, Russia is very much like China in terms of there's no freedom in those countries. You have a dictator running things. Of course, you have no way of knowing. So I don't trust a single word that comes out of anything from Russia or China. It's all political propaganda. By the way, my friend is a doctor working on the coronavirus team in a large U.S. city. His unit went from 2 people to 50 people in 6 days, half of them on ventilators. He thinks the chloroquine won't do much, by the way. William Conroy. Yeah, I don't think it will either. I think it's a very nasty virus that if it just, I mean, people that recover had gone through quite a bit of a struggle with it. Apparently, some people just are symptomatic and they just sail through it. But there's a lot of people that, even if they recover on their own without going to the hospital, they just get hit pretty bad as well. So it is definitely a very serious, very deadly flu. I don't think it's just, like, it's just a flu, bro. The saying, banana pancakes and some of your recipes. Yes, I'll start doing a few more videos on that. The banana pancake recipe is in the book, but I'll do a video as well, and some of the bread stuff too. Sunday is cool for me. Yeah, Sunday seems like a good way. Guys, I got a good way of using up onions for you. Cut the top of the stubble. Means that the plants will throw up out new shoots. Use these spring onions. Place bulb. Sunday is good for me. Maybe do 2 live streams per week during this pandemic. Yeah, maybe. Lots of folks home. Hey, man, a couple more minutes and I really have to go. Anyone that has any specific questions that would like to ask, let me know and I'll answer it before I go. But just a couple more minutes. A private, yeah. Wait 2 weeks. You'll see new roots. You'll need fertilizer. Hello, Fernando. Just got in from a trip to the liquor store. Hope all is okay with you and we'll be listening to the rest of the podcast. SB, man, the podcast is almost over. But yeah, we'll do it again on Sunday, okay? If you guys are happy with that. William Conroy, wishing your friend well from Ireland and hoping he stays safe. Okay. Okay, guys. Yeah, that's gonna be it. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we'll see you this Sunday then. Right? About the same time, I think it's going to be okay. All right, folks, have a good one. Bye-bye.